when you are handicapping these races, one of the most important things to do is after the race, go back and look at it and be like, hey, what did I get right? What did I get wrong? How can I improve the process? And to me, this was a whiff. I feel like I could have improved the process and been there.
This is VSiN at the Track. Now here's your hosts, Mike Somich and Aaron Halterman.
Welcome to your VSiN at the Track. I am Mike Somich. He is Aaron Halterman, and we got a little bit of everything on today's show. Aaron, we got to talk Pegasus Day. We've got to talk a new 3-year-old contender. We've got preps all over the country. We got to talk weather. We're not sure if we're going to get all the preps this weekend as well. So a lot to go over today on this week's show.
Yeah, there is a lot to talk about, and the Pegasus, what that was and what that day was a crazy one, no doubt about it. Maybe even more exciting what happened the day after that we're going to talk about. So it's going to be a really good show. The Derby preps are back. I love that. You know, I love getting back. This feels like the time of year we should be talking about that.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun show today. We're going to talk about everything that happened on Pegasus World Cup Day. We'll hit the Withers and the Holy Bull in our race previews, as well as the Forward Gal and the Sweetest Chant Stakes. And of course, best bets, Aaron. I went 2 for 2 last week. That was a little fun one. Nice to have 2 winners on the Pegasus card, both paying close to 9-5 and 5-2. So we'll take those. You were at Gulfstream Park, so I want to start there. What was the vibe on Pegasus Day? This is what, your 4th one, 5th one you've been to? How did it compare to previous days?
Yeah, I mean, it's always kind of the same when you go there, right? Gulfstream is a little bit of a smaller facility if you've never been there as far as the actual racetrack itself. The outside of it is pretty large, but it was fun. It's always a festive day. You don't get, like, in my opinion, like that hardcore racetrack feel when you go to the Pegasus at Gulfstream Park. It's a lot of guys and gals that are out just kind of having a good time, enjoying a day outside. It was 81 degrees there. That was pretty nice because I think we were getting like a foot of snow where I'm from. Well, I was up at, or down in Florida. So that was great. It was just kind of a fun, festive day. And a lot of people walking around going, man, how did that horse just do that? I heard that 4 or 5 times on the day as well. But it was an absolutely great day to be at Gulfstream.
Yeah, the synth races killed me, man. I was rolling winners, and those synthetic races, both of them got me, so that was a little bit frustrating, but a fun day overall. And let's start out with the big one, right? The Pegasus World Cup. We see Skippylongstocking, forever the bridesmaid, becomes the bride, able to win a Grade 1 race for the first time. And this was an interesting one because we had 3 horses that got heavily bet in this race. We saw Disco Time on the rail, Tapon Street, the 7, who I was backing, and the 11, White Abario. And I'm going to go out and just say, like, we were hoping to exit this race with a superstar, and all credit to Skippylongstocking for winning. Kind of makes you feel like the rest of this field may not have been quite what we were hoping for because this horse was able to get home after failing so many times before at the level.
Yeah, it's crazy how many no-shows we had in this race, basically. And it's crazy the 2 horses that did show up for a trainer whose horses didn't show up all day until that race. Talking about Saffy Joseph, who ran 1-2, Mike, his horses didn't run at all, hardly, in that card, and then they run their eyeballs out there. I'll start with this. I was watching Disco Time, and I knew the whole time he was done. You know, it wasn't gonna work. I was literally thinking, well, Mike was right. He's gonna get burnt here, and he did. So you watch White Abario slingshot to the front, and I was shaking my head like, well, I guess it's just a Gulfstream thing. Like he didn't have to run since August, and all this stuff about him, and he's gonna show up with this huge race. You scan back once Abario makes the move, and it's like, no, that can't be. It's Skippylongstocking. It's funny because I didn't have him anywhere. I'll never have him anywhere. You could run the race again and tell me the results. I'm still not going to pick him to win, to be quite honest with you, Mike. But watching it down the stretch, I started rooting for him because I'm like, please get it right here. You've tried so many times to get this Grade 1. You could tell he's kind of outrunning White Abario before he even passes him. Please just get there because no disrespect to White Abario. We saw it last year. I want to see Skippy do it. So it was kind of a feel-good story. But yeah, Tapon Street does nothing. Disco Time does nothing. And the Saffys run 1-2.
Yeah, it was a couple, like, where Mike was right, where Mike was wrong in this race for me.
Yeah.
Where Mike was right, Disco Time, it's just the wrong setup. Never was going to work for him. He ends up not showing up. I also think I was right about White Abario. If he had 2 foundation races like he did last year, He's a completely different horse in this one. You could kind of tell he hit a wall once we got to about the middle of the stretch, and that's really helped Skippylongstocking be able to run him down. Where Mike was wrong, Tapon Street was not ready. That was a terrible pick. And I was sitting there like I wanted 6-1, not 5-2. And the price shift also was like, well, that's frustrating. I also disagree with you. And this is what I think was the most frustrating part of this from a betting perspective for me. If I told you that Disco Time, White Barrio, and Tapon Street don't run, I think Skippy might be one of the more logical winners of this race. And that, to me, is why I was frustrated. This wasn't even a tournament host for me. I talked about Poster, the horse that ran second to Skippy last time and didn't include Skippy, same price. Like, I actually think Skippylongstocking was gettable in this spot because we talked about why you shouldn't like Disco Time or why Disco Time might not run well. We talked about why White Barrio might not run well. Tapon Street totally could have run that race. Like, he might not have been ready as well. If you get past those three, Skippy to me was probably the next most logical horse. And I was hoping the Poster would do it, obviously did not. But I was kicking myself after that race for not at least using Skippylongstocking in tournaments.
He's the most gettable horse, just like maybe 5 of them could have been, is how I look at it, though.
Well,
if you go, okay, well, this horse isn't going to run and this horse is, and now what's going to happen? It's like, well, shit, it could be any of them. You know what I mean? I guess he was like, yeah, he was. If you go down, maybe if I had a 6th choice, which, you hardly ever have a 6th choice, but you have then you could get to him. And that, I think you could Monday morning quarterback this race specifically all you want. I just think at the end of the day, the reason you didn't have him in a tournament and the reason we didn't pick him on the show is he was very hard to get, right? If he was that easy, you would have used him because you're a good tournament player, right? So, I mean, that's...
Yeah. It's frustrating because I used Poster. That's why I'm pissed at myself, right? Because
that's more than fair. Because
I want to bring it up because a lot of times people go on and they red board about winners. I think a lot of times you have to look at the races you lose and talk about why you lost them and how you could have handicapped it better. And I looked back at this race afterward and thought, well, shit, Mike, like you could have done better here. Like this is a situation where I do think, especially since I was against Disco Time, against White Barrio, I could have found a way to Skippylongstocking. And that's what made it frustrating for me. And I think it's important to talk about because it's like when you are handicapping these races, one of the most important things to do is after the race, go back and look at it and be like, hey, what did I get right? What did I get wrong? How can I improve the process? And to me, this was a whiff. I feel like I could have improved the process and been there.
I see. I 100% agree with the point of you have to do that. And trust me, on this card specifically, I probably overdone it because I didn't have a great day at all. I had a horrific day. And so I've looked back at it. This was one where I was like, there's no handicapping method that I was going to use to put Skippylongstocking on top. So I don't worry about it. Test score, we're going to talk about in a minute. I kind of am like, yeah, you probably overrated program trading and all of a sudden test score would have been there, right? But with Skippy, not so much. And I'll say one more thing about it. When I was watching it live, I was sitting there going, should have picked Tapon Street. That it's setting up perfect for him. Should have used Poster. It's setting up perfect for him. Even as it was running, I did not think Skippylongstocking is who it was setting up for in this race.
I won't lie. I was pretty happy, like midway through the race. I'm like, look, if Tapon Street has it, he wins this going away. Mm-hmm. And, to me, Poster still was live. But again, it was the like, hey, dummy, take the horse that beat the horse that you're taking it to at the same price, right? Like, so that's why I wanted to bring that up at least and talk through it. Again, big picture, I don't think you like completely write off Disco Time and Tapon Street, but it is going to be tough to be like they're in this level down the line unless we see big time improvement from them. And I think Disco Time, you can make the excuse of like, look, he kind of needs to not be cooked up front, and then you got a much better horse versus what we saw on last Saturday.
I think the takeaways are I still think Skippy's more of the grade 2 or grade 3, and don't get me, I've been a huge fan of him. I'm so happy he got the grade 1, and forget about the betting. I'm glad he won. So, but I don't think you elevate him too much. I think White Barrio, if we could keep him on the track and keep him healthy, he might round into some really good form again. I think he kind of shows that it's possible. Disco Time, I would cut him back. I'd cut him back in distance a little bit. 1 turn race, try that. Tapon Street's a hard one, Mike, because that was really no excuse to run like that, other than it was the second start off the layoff. Maybe he gets better, but you would have thought that's the race. And maybe he doesn't win, but if, say, he gets up for 3rd, then it's like, okay, but man, he just didn't really do much at all. So he's the one I'm confused on.
Yeah, the no-show, quite frustrating. We'll see what happens with White Abarrio moving forward out of this as well. I'm interested to see what path they take, if they try and go cut back at some point and end up in the Met Mile or whatever, what we've seen in the last couple of years, if they end up in Dubai, if they end up in Saudi Arabia. So going to be interested to see what happens there with White Abarrio as well. All right, let's go backward one race. You mentioned the Pegasus World Cup turf. Test score gets the win. One stripe flying late, and we've got video of this one courtesy of our friends over at First Bet, so appreciate them allowing to use us. And I am going to now tell you why I'm frustrated because this is one of the reasons we have this video. If you roll it and you watch test score here, test score in the one saddle cloth on the inside gets a beautiful trip. Yes, ends up 2 or 3 wide into the stretch, but able to just like tip out right behind the speed and make a big move. One stripe who was further back than I expected essentially gets shuffled around the far turn. You can see he has to basically high-five the camera people on the outside rail as he's trying to close down the outside. And it goes grand motion 1-2. Test score gets the win. We see one stripe just fall short of being able to get up. I thought he was actually going to get there in real time. Ends up just about a neck behind. 2 good horses. One stripe is the better horse. I just want to say, like, that one, that should have won. The horse was 12-1 morning line, goes off, loads at 7-1, goes off at 4-1, all the late money on one stripe. He ends up just a no short. I know you like test score. Didn't end up there because of program trading. We'll talk about in a second here. But what are your thoughts on these 2 motion runners? And if they ran the race 10 times, how many times does one stripe win?
Yeah, we're spending too much time together because I was thinking about you during this race as well, and it's getting annoying. But I felt terrible for you because I knew you really liked one stripe. You got the price, it was decent enough price, and he was the best horse. There's no doubt about it. But you had 2 unlucky things happen. One, the trip, which was tough, right? It was just there's no way around it. It was a really tough trip, really wide trip. 2, like you said, well, you had 3 things, I guess. 2, test score gets a perfect trip. He sits the pocket. He's in a perfect spot. It opens up for him so he never gets stopped. 3, he fires the best race of his career. And look, he's been solid, right? Every race is solid. He took it to another level. He has improved as a 4-year-old. Even if he gets that perfect trip and he doesn't fire, say he fires like he did last year, towards the end of the year, your horse still probably wins. So it was a great pick by you. It was one of those things. It kind of reminded me of risk tolerance back in like the 3rd race, where like you knew he was never going to get there, but you walked away going, I should have, won there. You know what I mean? And one stripe was awesome. It'll be interesting to see where they both go next. And with one stripe, will they bring the South African jockey back? What will you do? Do you blame the jockey? Was it just the horses running style? I don't know. So that's going to be interesting.
I didn't think it was a bad ride. I think he just it was a circumstantial ride where you just kind of got the worst of every circumstance. And that's why you got shuffled. That's why you were further back. And it's there was quite a bit of pace on, which kind of forced you to be further back than expected. It's going to be interesting what they do with them. I think both of these horses are players moving forward in these turf divisions. Test score, I thought was awesome. Like jumped up against Older for the first time. We talked about this. We've seen these horses win the Pegasus World Cup before with these 3-year-olds turning 4 and taking their first shot. But he got the trip and he capitalized off it. He ran very, very well. Now you picked program trading in this race. So what do you do with this horse coming out of this spot? Because I felt like this set up really well for him. I didn't think the trip was terrible, and just didn't really fire. Like what do you do with program trading, who's a heavy favorite in this spot?
I have no idea. He has absolutely no excuse. So what happened was, you watch the race back, he's following test score, the 1. So it's the 1 in the pocket and the 2's just right behind test score. And test score kind of tips out. And then Flavian Pratt has the rail wide open. And it's not a small little, place for him to go through. He's got it wide open. And program trading goes up and just will not go, doesn't fire. It won't pass even the horse that was on the lead. So I don't really know. He was incredibly disappointing to me. And again, if he gets a trip like your horse gets and gets 2nd or 3rd, you go, well, it is what it is. But he had the shortest way around the track. All he has to do is just, kind of squirt through the hole there, and it's a perfect trip. And he's probably, if he fires how I think he should have or was going to, he wins. So I don't really know. I guess you drop him down in class a little bit if you want to try that. But I mean, let's face it, this was a grade 1, but you're probably going to run into a grade 2 or a grade 3 somewhere, maybe at Keeneland or up on the Naira circuit, that's going to be just as tough. So That was the most disappointing horse on the card for me because he got the trip and still didn't fire.
He's going to be tough to bet back because you're going to get a
Yes.
short price on program. You're not going to get 6-1 on program trading, 8-1 on program trading. And it feels like if he's consistently the favorite, he's probably a bet against for me until we see him reach back to that level that we saw when he was winning races. But again, like 2 seconds and then the bad race last time and then this effort, it's been a little dull for program trading. So it'll be interesting to see where he decides to come back. Cabo Spirit completely spits the bit. I thought he actually, like, they went quick, but they didn't go like ridiculous quick, and he just backed up pretty good there. So interesting to see him get a shot against the East Coast horses on a track that I thought would favor him and just end up being dull.
Yeah, I mean, it was like speed was working, and then we got to the major races and speed didn't work. And so you look back and go, well, maybe those horses that were on the front were just good, and now these horses aren't. So, and Cabo Spirit, I was with you. I thought he got a decent enough trip, but yeah, nothing at all. And yeah, it's just one of the Southern California horses on the turf have been doing decent at Gulfstream when they come to Pegasus Day. This one was not great.
So just quick recap for me. One Stripe I upgrade quite a bit and I think is bettable back off this race. Test score, I think probably is overbet next time out. And the trip was too good for me to want to chase the test score at a short price.
It depends on, where they run, blah, 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 all that stuff. But yeah, all things being equal, probably going to be the favorite after this win in his next race. And you're right. Perfect trip. And if somebody's in there that, shows a little bit, I think he is a bet against. I'm with you.
All right, let's fast forward one day here. We talked about the 3rd and the 7th from Gulfstream Park on Sunday. Keep an eye on a couple of those 3-year-olds running the 3rd race, won by Code Review. The horse that we mentioned wasn't all that impressed. However, the 7th, we see Hickman Creek scratch out of this, the 2-horse. So you have Canaletto and Spartacus, both in this race, 2 horses that had a ton of hype around them. And Spartacus gets the lead. And we got the video on this one. I'm excited to show the video here as well. But Spartacus gets the lead. But as we pick it up, you can see Canaletto's, the horse is just moving better. And around the far turn, you see Canaletto completely under wraps, just go right by Spartacus. You can see on the 1, you're getting asked, you're starting to go to the whip early here. I thought Canaletto, who, by the way, took the late money as well, which was interesting to me because I thought Spartacus would go off as your favorite, looked like he was in total control in this race, gets tapped a couple times on the shoulder, and as soon as he does, he just spurts away from Spartacus and opens up. This is one... you mentioned it. It has a very, very good family pedigree here. He was a $1 million purchase. Into Mischief Out of Distorted Humor. Chad Brown, Flavian Pratt, everything kind of fits here. We got to think what we're going to see next is going to be a prep race.
Yeah, it was beautiful, wasn't it? It really, really was. And we were there on Sunday as well. And we stayed, at the track specifically for this race. And we were in the paddock, and it was my buddy Paul Withrow and I, and our wives were there as well. And we were all like, yeah, the 9's better than the 1. Like, even in the paddock, you could just tell, like, the one, with Spartacus, who was the 1, it just felt to me like we need to go longer. We're kind of just getting a race under his belt. I wouldn't totally give up on him, but Canaletto looked the part. Like, he was jumping out of his skin, and it wasn't like a nervous energy. It was just like, we're hyped. We're ready. And, he got out of the gate well. He did everything pretty well once he got out on the track. The thing that I was really impressed with, he made that move around the turn to take the lead. And not all horses can do that. That's sign number 1 of, okay, this is a horse that's got a little juice, right? But how you mentioned it, he got a couple of reminders when he did that. He kind of was green for like a half second. He was a little bit immature, and then he straightened up and he took off. And we were standing, I don't know, about 100 yards from the finish line. And when he went by us, he was hauling, like he was moving. And you didn't see on the video there, but you watched the gallop out. Remember, this is a 1-mile race, 1 turn. You watch the gallop out. Way ahead of everybody, full of energy. We saw him come back to the winner's circle, not even breathing hard. This is a really, really good horse. He got an 89 buyer for the effort, which is, solid for a debuter there for Chad Brown. I loved everything about it. I thought it was really good. Does he have enough time to get to the Derby? I don't know. I kind of heard the Tampa Bay Derby might be next for him. Good spot, I think. And then you can run maybe one more time in the Wood or the Bluegrass. But it was a sensational debut.
I wouldn't be shocked if it's Tampa Bay Derby and then the Bluegrass. That's a Chad Brownish type path. Half to what last year's horse that was owned by, why can't I think of the name right now? Give me the name.
Sandman, your favorite horse,
Half to
Sandman.
Sandman, yeah. And when you think about Sandman last year, it was never the distance, it was the pace, the style of the horse, and the head of the horse. Well, it was by Tappet. This is not a Tappet, but out of the same mare. This is an Into Mischief horse. So mentally, you'd expect this horse to be more forward than Sandman. So right away, because of the style of the race and because of the breeding, I think this is a player inside the Derby. You mentioned the path to the Kentucky Derby, obviously a little more difficult because we're debuting at this point. Spartacus should improve. His path is basically nil now, though. Like, you're going to have to either go to a stakes race, which I don't think Pletcher's going to do out of this, or win a maiden special weight going a mile and 16th, and then wheel right back into one of the big preps. Either way, that's going to be a very difficult path.
I kind of think, and look, he's going to have to win next out for this plan that I'm going to talk about to come to fruition. But he looks like a horse that wants a lot of ground. He broke poor. He was on the rail. He rushed up. There are reasons that he ran so poor. I think the Belmont is an outside chance for this horse. You break the maiden, and then maybe you go to kind of a smaller stakes race, and he can win there, and then maybe the Belmont's kind of the long-term goal. The Derby's pretty much out. I'm with you.
So Canaletto, one we want to keep an eye on. We'll talk about when he actually is going to reappear on the racetrack. We'll cover all of those Kentucky Derby prep races. Let us know in the YouTube comments. We appreciate them, positive, negative. We see them all. We appreciate the comments down on those YouTube videos. Let us know what you think of Canaletto and whether or not he is actually a player in this Kentucky Derby trail. One more player in the trail, Napoleon Solo, back on the working tab, and he worked well, looking like he's going to target one of the early March races from a prep perspective here, Aaron.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with him. He's 2 for 2. He had a really flashy win in the Champagne. There's a lot of people that like him. I do as well. We got to go 2 turns for the first time when we run again, unless we go to the Gotham, which is another mile race up at Aqueduct. So he's the good news about him. They took a break on purpose to get him ready for this, and he's come back and looked very strong on the work tab. So don't forget about Napoleon Solo. He's out there. He's going to have 2 preps to the Derby if he can, make it there. So I'm hearing a lot of good things. We'll just kind of see where he shows up. I think that 1 mile race at Aqueduct could be where we see him.
Yeah, I expect New York, but we'll see where he ends up deciding to go. Skip the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, which I was surprised at the time, but obviously the goal of the Kentucky Derby here, and they wanted to make sure Napoleon Solo was ready for that 3-year-old season. If you're getting ready for Big Game 60, we've got a big deal to match. Save $60 off a VSiN Pro annual subscription when you sign up using promo code TRACK. That's TRACK. Become a VSiN Pro subscriber and bet smarter all year long with full access to our daily best bets from VSiN hosts and guests, real times, DraftKings, and Circa betting splits, AI-powered prop tools and matchup analysis, as well as 24/7 video and full show replays over on the VSiN Watch app, plus all of our betting guides, including the Super Bowl, March Madness, and more. Visit VSiN.com/subscribe and use promo code TRACK to save $60 off a VSiN Pro annual subscription today. That's VSIN.com/subscribe. All right, Aaron, let's head up to New York. We've got the Withers, a prep race for the Kentucky Derby this Saturday. Before I bring up the whole field, do they run this race?
They're going to try their best, is how I would describe it. I know people are getting frustrated, but I think they're going to do it. I really do. They're more prepared for winter weather up in New York than they are, say, at Oaklawn Park, where they just canceled the whole weekend. I'm going to bet, yes, they do run this race.
And if you're wondering why we're not covering Oaklawn Park, it's because they canceled the whole weekend. All right, let's talk about the Withers here. We got a field of 8 heading postward. I'm going to go out on a limb and say our favorite is going to be Otano here, the number 6 horse, 8-5 on the morning line. Chad Brown, Flavian Pratt. Stop me if you heard that before. Who, look, kind of came from off the pace going a mile, then went gate to wire in a slower paced race going a mile and 1/8. I think kind of fits the bill as a horse who could possibly be a long-term runner. Brown also has your second choice in here, Schoolyard Superman, the 1 horse. Manny Franco will ride that one. That to me is more of your gate to wire threat if you're going to look at any of these Browns. What did you make of the Withers this year, and who do you like on top?
Well, it's not a great running of the race. It usually isn't, though, so you don't get too worked up about it. I kind of love the number 6 Ottenho in the spot. I just kind of feel like this is the perfect spot for him. A couple of reasons why. The maiden special weight on debut at Aqueduct went 1 mile, got beat by Enforced Agenda, who's not too bad of a horse, and got third and just kind of ran like a horse that hadn't, needed an out, basically, got way behind. Second race, we stretched out to 1 mile and an eighth immediately. We go on 1 mile and an eighth maiden special weight. And then we're in the front. We're better placed, and we get the job done and win by a head. I just look at that race and go, yeah, I think that's going to win this race. Even if he doesn't really improve that much, I think he can win. Here's a big deal for me. He's the only horse that's won at the distance, and he's only one of 2 horses that have even tried the distance. And I think at this point in the game, that is a huge advantage. So I like the 6 Ottenho on top. I will say to me, it's a very boring race. It's either the 6 or it's the 1 Schoolyard Superman. I just trust the 6 more at the distance.
Yeah, I took Ottenho on top. 8-5, tough to bet the horse to win, especially since I think 8-5, kind of a pipe dream. I think it's more like 4-5 when they actually go out of the gate, which is a price I would not bet Ottenho to win on. You mentioned Grittiness is the other horse that has gone 1 mile and an eighth, did that in the Remsen, was 55-1 that day and is 9-2 today. No thanks. I'll go ahead and pass on the other horse that's gone 1 mile and an eighth. I do think the pace could be very interesting here. The 1 horse, Schoolyard Superman, definitely going to go to the front. The 4, Talk to Me Jimmy, a very fast horse coming out of mile races. And the 5, Mulata, coming out of 7 furlong sprints where Mulata was making the lead. I'm not going to pound the table for this one. I do think Project Ace, if Project Ace runs here, which he's also entered in the race we're going to talk about last at Gulfstream as well, is the true dead closer here. I don't love that we're coming out of restricted maiden special weights, but at 10-1, and Dale Romans has pulled off races like this before, for a horse that is bred to get the 1.25 mile here, War of Will out of a Tisnow mare, I think Project Ace might just get the absolute setup. So I may play just like a 6-4 exacta cold. I may sprinkle in a little bit, or 6-3 exacta cold. I'm sorry, 3 is Project Ace. Or I may sprinkle in some 3 in tournaments or a little bit of 3 to win here, because I do think Project Ace is going to get the setup. I'm not sure if he's good enough, but he's won at 1 mile and a 16th. He knows how to close ground. I think a lot of these horses are going to be sucking wind when they turn for home.
I liked his level of improvement each race. So I've got Project Ace in third for a lot of the reasons you said. Level improvement each race has been pretty good from the time form standpoint, at least. An 81 on debut, then stretched out to 1 mile and 16th and got an 86, and then ran 1 mile and 16th for the second time there at Churchill and got a 95. So if we can kind of keep that ladder, we're in a spot where it makes a lot of sense. So I like Project Ace. I like him a hell of a lot better in this race than I do in the Gulfstream race we're going to get ready to talk about. I'll tell you that for sure. The problem is he's been out at Gulfstream Park working. He's obviously stable at Gulfstream Park. Are they going to fly him all the way to New York? Can they even fly him all the way to New York with planes getting canceled here and there and everywhere? So that's a problem too. He fits really well here. I think this is the spot they should run. So I'm with you on that. You talked about Mulata real quick, the 5 horse. This is a horse. It's a Pennsylvania bred. We've kind of been going short, and the last 3 races have been very good. Mm-hmm. But I'm with you. I just feel like I don't know that stretching out's going to help this horse. And I don't think the pace is going to help this horse at all. I would have waited and try to go 1 mile, say in the Gotham coming up in March with this horse. I think this is one. Forget about Pennsylvania bred. I think this one has talent. I just don't think this is the right race for him.
Yeah, Mulata feels like the horse we're all pissed off that wins the Pate Mile. That's what Mulata feels like to me, right? It's 25-1 and but only Parks for him, and then all of a sudden he's like, wait a second, he's just better around one turn. So that one's interesting to me. To your point, I have no interest in Project Ace in the in the Holy Bull. I think that this would be a much better spot, but you mentioned it, been training at Gulfstream Park. Other interesting thing about Project Ace, and then I'll get off this one. One of the few horses that hasn't run as a 3-year-old. So really logical that you could see a career best effort here, stepping up after a few months off, going from that 2 to 3. We'll see if Project Ace ends up here or ends up in the Holy Bull. This is a much better spot for him. That doesn't mean that he will run here. So the Withers, race number 9 on Aqueduct Saturday card, number 6 Ottenho for Aaron, number 6 Ottenho for me. I kind of like the 3 Project Ace too if we end up running in this spot. All right, let's head down to South Florida and Gulfstream Park. They've got another very good Saturday card kicking off the grade 3 competition here. Race number 10, Gulfstream Park, the Forward Gal. 7 furlongs for 3-year-old fillies here, Aaron. Another really interesting race. I thought this was one of the more difficult ones to handicap. Where did you end up going on top?
Yeah, this was always is. I feel like the 3-year-old filly scene kind of can get weird down here sometimes. I have always loved the number 4 Mythical. I just think she's such a good horse. Last time out did stretch out to a mile and a 16th. It was able to get the job done, but I really think 7 furlongs is where we're going to see this horse at her best, or 6 furlongs, is where we're going to see her at her best. So I went number 4 Mythical on top in here. And I think I know what you're going to say. Boy, there's a lot of speed signed on. She's kind of been involved in some paces that were pretty hot and has been able to hold on a couple of them. So I kind of think that's just her game. I wouldn't try to take it away from her. I'd just send her and hope she can take him gate to wire. So I'm going to go number 4 Mythical on top in the spot.
Yeah, look, she's the logical pick, right? I mean, like, the Trumont was awesome at Saratoga. She won that race relatively easily. She's 2 for 2 over the Gulfstream Park course. She's won at 7 furlongs. She's run at a mile and a 16th, so we know the distance isn't going to be an issue. First off, the layoff, which I would usually point to with Jorge Delgado, is a problem. He's just 7% on 46 starters. However, this horse broke the maiden first time out, which tells you that this is one of those horses that can kind of buck those trends. Zayas gets them out, which you could say, well, why is it not Jaramillo? Well, he's in California. So it kind of makes sense that Zayas, one of the go-to riders for Delgado, 29% of Gulfstream in the last couple of years, gets the mount here. So I do like Mythical here as well. That's the horse I put on top. But I'm going to try and find, again, a little bit of a price underneath here. What did you make of the number 7 Holland Drive in this spot? You mentioned all the speed, and I agree with you. I think there's a lot of horses that want to go here. Kind of feels like Holland Drive, who has just been getting better with each of the starts. You kind of take out the muddy track, but you look at the debut and then that last win. This is a horse that's improving for a trainer, Will Walden, that we've seen do very well when stepping up into stakes company. The setup is going to be right. I don't think the 7 furlongs is a problem. I love practical jokes out of Indian Charlie Mayer, so I think this is like the exact distance you want to be going with this horse. I think the 7 Holland Drive here could step up quite a bit.
It's not one that I've used, so but you look at it now. I do see the pace situation setting up, and I can see the pace really, really being hot in this one, and somebody's going to pick up the pieces, and this could be one for sure. I'll say the same thing that I said about the Project Ace in the last race. The improvement pattern has been pretty good for Holland Drive, which is exactly what you want to see. Time form number has improved every single time. Last time out, it was definitely, my opinion, you go back and watch the replay, that was the best race for this horse. So, I hear you. I kind of think, I think Holland Drive and the 5 Sneaky Good. I think those are the two that could kind of really benefit from the pace. They both kind of look similar to me. Both of them, Sneaky Good won gate to wire on debut, but came from out of it second out. And I think that's more what we're going to see in this spot when this sets up. So I think the 5 and the 7 are the two that benefit the most from the pace collapse. If there is a pace collapse, I should say.
Yeah, this is one of the 7 furlongs, 3-year-olds. Like, to me, this is one of those spots where pace collapse is not like going to happen, but it's one of the more logical spots to try and call it out, because we are going further than the 6 furlongs or 6.5, which is a lot of what these horses want to do or what we've seen them do. You mentioned Sneaky Good for Brad Cox, second off the layoff. That horse could definitely get better, but needs to improve a lot to compete with these. Right to her outside, you've got one On Time Girl out of Not This Time, by Not This Time, who is one of the best sires in the country right now. Also Brad Cox, Irad, and lands there. What did you make of On Time Girl?
I think that's the second horse, and I think this is the one that Mythical is going to have to hold off. I kind of look at On Time Girl as pressing the pace, but not exactly like in front. I know she's been in front in a couple of starts. She's also kind of just sat a half length off in a couple of starts as well. It'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. I just think with the 4 drawn inside the 6, Mythical's going to go to the front, and On Time Girl's going to stalk. if you just look at, time form speed figures, the 4 and the 6 are the two horses that, make the most sense in the race, right? Well, as we know, it's not always that easy, but this is another one for Brad Cox, been improving every start as well. Last time out at Churchill, that was a very sharp win in a stakes race. I think this is squarely the one to beat if Mythical doesn't get the job done.
Safi's got 2 in here, both the 2 and the 3, Tessellate and Sakane. They neither is ridden by Zayas or Ortiz, which is interesting because they found other mounts in here, but they are the best 2 the best 2 horses on paper heading into the race. Did either of the Safis make sense to you here?
Well, I mean, famous last words, but no, not really in this spot.
I just got to bring it up after the Pegasus.
I absolutely understand why you would. Yeah, and again, here's the deal: day in and day out, Safi Joseph certainly is somebody you got to play. I like the 3 a little bit. I should say should play at Gulfstream, right? But I do like the 3. But here's the problem with the 3. Irad was on, and now he's not. And to me, it's clear why he's not. The 6 looks like a much better horse than the 3. You got to go with that one. And I'm sure, when you get into stakes races, Safi Joseph understands that, So I didn't. This is another one, though, with the 3 that could play a big part in the pace. I think will be right up there. And if it's going to heat up, it's going to be a horse like this that kind of goes out there and really challenges and presses the 4 and or the 6.
All right, last question for you. Any interest on the outside here? Pletcher, Velasquez, $500,000 at auction, cutting back from a mile. Any interest in the 8?
Did you go back and watch the replay?
I did. That's why I'm asking.
Didn't you feel a little underwhelmed by it?
I did, yes.
Yeah, and that's why I can't. Another one that could play a part in the pace, though, right?
Yep.
And again, every horse, we're saying this, so maybe just take Mike 7. But it just, I don't know. That race last time out felt like we got on the lead. It's like there just wasn't much behind, and they were, the 8 was just able to win. That I didn't have a lot of interest in this spot.
Didn't go very fast late in that race either, and has needed the lead in both of the 2 starts. That, to me, was the knock on the 8 there. All right, that is the Forward Gal Grade 3 race from Gulfstream Park, race number 10 on the Saturday card. Number 4, Mythical for Aaron. Number 4, Mythical for me. But I also like the 7, Holland Drive, a little bit. If you want to sprinkle a price in there, I do think you're going to get it on Holland Drive. Now, if you are listening to us here on Apple or Spotify, we appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast so that you're able to get every single episode that drops. But make sure you check out VSiN at the Track on YouTube as well. That's right. We have got our very own YouTube channel. Subscribe on YouTube today at VSiN at the Track. Never miss an episode or our best moments. Join us or join the VSiN at the Track community and post your questions or comments. I know we get some good ones. I know we get some bad ones. We want to hear from you. Where are we right? Where are we wrong? What should we talk about? We'd love to hear any of it. So head over to at VSiN at the Track over on YouTube so that we can address some of those. I know we do have a couple topics we have for future shows that we're going to bring up based off of those comments. So appreciate those and make sure you keep them coming. All right, fast forward. One more race number 11, Gulfstream Park on Saturday. The Sweetest Chant Stakes, mile and a 16th over the turf course. 3-year-old fillies, Aaron. We got a full field. This one I thought was wildly interesting. I know that I had up to 5 horses at one time that I wanted to use in this spot. Where are you going on top?
Yeah, look, I'm going to take, I don't know if it's a little bit of a shot, but I think it's going to be. I don't think this horse will be favored or second choice. I kind of like the number 2 Surprise Ending in this spot. So I'm going to go number 2 Surprise Ending on top. Just one race under the belt so far, and that came on January 4th right here at Gulfstream Park going 1 mile. Man, didn't get a lot of money that day. Was 18 to 1 on the tote board. But boy, did she run awfully well down the stretch. Fell behind, made up a lot of ground. And we've talked about it. It's not the easiest track to make up ground on. It was able to get the job done by a half length. This is a horse trained by Brendan Walsh. And Walsh really doesn't win first out all that often. Usually you see the best from his horses as they go down the road. He's kind of one of those trainers that kind of build them up. One first out and got a number that is very competitive with anybody here. If this horse takes a step forward, I think it's squarely the one to beat. So I like the number 2 Surprise Ending. I'm hoping for a step forward here. I mentioned the horse kind of goes or what came from behind last time out. I kind of think the horse sits mid-pack here. A little bit of just maybe a little greenness and didn't really settle all that well last time out. I think we'll run better and improve this time. So I like number 2, Surprise Ending on top.
Yeah, weird running line. Out of the gate was 6th, 5 3/4 lengths behind. Then falls back to it moves forward to 5th, but is 10 lengths off the lead. They went really fast early in that race, slowed down late. I think that helped Surprise Ending be able to make that move. I don't want to discount this horse because, like I said, I was considering going as deep as 5 deep in this race, and so I'm not going to try and talk you off somebody. I do like the 8, the favorite here, Sister Troyenne, to a certain point. I think this horse has a tactical advantage, should be forward. I don't see a ton of speed signed on here, so I do think all of that is positive. But I don't think the horse should be the price it's going to be in this race. I think Sister Troyenne here is going to be 6 to 5, even money, somewhere around there. I want to look for a little bit bigger of a price. I'm going to go to another kind of up-and-comer here. I'm going to go to the number 3 horse Brat Pack. This is a gun runner out of Uncle Mo. Grand Motion, we just talked about his success on Pegasus World Cup Day. Ruiz rides this one back. And 2 races so far under the belt. The first at Laurel Park, going a mile, and drew the inside. Terrible post to draw first time out, especially if you're going 2 turns. I thought the horse handled it okay. It made a charge late, not able to get there. That second race back at Gulfstream Park on December 24th, it's sneaky really good. Drew the 9 of 9, was wide the whole race around. They go 6 furlongs in 113. They finish up in 141 and 3. So they are over a second faster than they're expected to be for a maiden special weight race, which is very, very quick. So they came home fast, yet Brat Pack's still able to make up ground. And again, 2 wide to 3 wide on both turns as well. Now you get a better position. You sit in the 3 post here. I think you're going to be forward enough based on what we saw in those first 2 races that you're not going to be too far behind, but we know there's a closing kick here for Brat Pack. I'm expecting like 12-1 on this horse as well. So I'm hoping I get a price that fits with the improvement that I'm going to need to win. But I'd rather take a shot with a 12-1 horse in this race, which again, I mentioned, I think is absolutely wide open, than take a shot with what's going to be an even money favorite here in Sister Troyenne.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on Brat Pack as well. I'm with you on the overall kind of thought process of where the 8's going to be 6 to 5, and where the rest of them fall, I'm not quite sure, but I know you're going to get a decent enough price. And I'm with you. Brat Pack is one I looked at for a long time. You talk about Walsh, who has the 2, and Motion now, who has the 3. They're very similar in the fact that you're seeing logical improvement with these young horses. You know, race to race, you usually see them getting a little better, and you saw it. Ran it at Laurel in a maiden special weight, and you know, just was okay. And then you just saw that light bulb come on at Gulfstream, and the horse run that well. So yeah, that's one I'm certainly going to use as well. Another one I thought about, and I am worried this one will get bet down, where I'm not as much worried about the 2 and the 3. The 10, Aggressive Lime. He's another one, or she, I should say, is another one that just, broke the maiden at Kentucky Downs, tried really tough grade 2 company next at Keeneland. They got back an allowance at Churchill and looked solid. And so the 2, the 3, the 10, they all ran really similar races. The big difference is, Aggressive Lime has 3 races under the belt, has faced, stakes company, did beat an allowance field. So that, again, when you're trying to get around the 8, those are the 3 to me that make the most sense.
Yeah, the 10 and the 11, I went back and forth on for a while. Aggressive Line, the 10, like you talked about. I love the fact we were in the Jessamine at Keeneland, comes back, drops in class a little bit, but still a tough race. I mean, $125,000 allowance at Churchill is nothing to sneeze at. Gets the win there, and Irad Ortiz stays aboard. So I think the 10 makes some sense. The 11, another interesting one to me, wins at Saratoga in a restricted maiden special weight race, jumps into the grade 1 spinaway. That's on dirt. Then decides, hey, we're going to completely pivot to a stakes race on turf, gets a very nice win in that race. Although we'll talk about that one a little bit later. I think the trip was absolutely perfect for Spirit Doll that race. Now she comes back here as the 11 and the 11 post. The projected morning line I saw on her was around 3-1. Aggressive Line was around 6-1. The posts are a problem for me here. I just don't see how either of them works out a decent trip from the 10 and the 11 spot. Although I do think both of them are players in this race.
Yeah, I think the 11 makes sense as well. It is a weird kind of form when you look at it, right?
Mm-hmm.
A horse is by 'Tis the Law out of a Cairo Prince mare. That doesn't exactly scream turf. Was it just a spot like where Safi thought, you know what, I think we're getting a kind of a weaker spot and we can get in there and win this race and hey, this horse isn't too bad on turf. Maybe they tried a work here or there. I don't know. I don't know what the story is, but usually when you break your maiden on the dirt at Saratoga, you're not on the turf 2 races later, right? That's
No.
usually not a thing unless you did an off the turf maiden special weight win where you just kind of stayed in. So I don't know the story. It'll be very interesting to see how it shakes out. You talked about the last race, like Safi doesn't have Zayas and doesn't have Cox. He does have Zaya, or doesn't have Ortiz, I should say. He does have Zayas here, so I think that's a good sign. On the 11, yeah, the trip is going to be wide. I just think you just got to assume that for the 10 and 11, they're going to get wide trips.
Yeah, and that to me is the real issue there, is what the trip are going to look like, especially for the 11 who wants to be forward. Like, I just don't see a world where we're not 3 wide in the first turn, and then it becomes very, very difficult, especially at a short of a price. I do want to shout out one more horse who I think is going to be a price and is at least a little bit interesting. The number 6 Storm's Wake, I think, has to at least be discussed here. Was the favorite in the race where Spirit Doll won at Gulfstream Park. Took a break out of that, came back in the Ginger Brew, ran third in that race behind Sister Troyenne, but that was a race that was dominated by horses who were forward. They went 24 in the first quarter and then went faster each quarter after that, so it was very hard to close any ground. Storm's Wake still closed 2.5 lengths in the stretch. Now you're getting second off layoff, which, by the way, Brian Lynch, 30%, $2.37 ROI. Brian Lynch, 33% in this meet so far, 14 winners out of 42 tries. Saez takes them out. I don't think we've seen the best of this horse. I wouldn't be shocked if Storm's Wake takes a big step forward.
It's funny, we kind of see this one the same. This is one I did not use, but if you draw a line through the race where, like you said, at Gulfstream where she was even money and Spirit Doll won, draw a line through that one. Her other 3 races are pretty darn good. A win, and a third, and a stakes last time out, where she really rebounded from a poor effort in that last one. So, and look, got beat by the favorite of this race. Going to be the favorite of this race, Sister Troyenne, and so. This would be one. This was hey, this is really going to make me mad if this horse wins. This was I would describe.
Gotta have one a week. Gotta have one a week.
You do, and the problem is, like you say, you talk about the last race, or maybe the Withers. It's like, yeah, look, it's one, two, maybe 3 horses, and it's like if the other ones win, it's whatever. This is a race, and it is a classic Gulfstream turf race where it's like, man, a lot of these look exactly the same, and so it gets down to price dependency and stuff like that. But as of right now, not using this horse, but obviously anybody can look at this and go, well, the 6 can win, right? There's no doubt the 6 can win. So not going to talk anybody off of her.
Other thing I want to mention, Brian Lynch has the favorite, Sister Troyenne, in this. Doesn't need to run 2 if he doesn't think Storm's Wake has a shot. So just want to throw that out there as well. That is the race number 11 on the Saturday Gulfstream Park card, the Sweetest Chant Stakes. Number 2, surprise ending for Aaron. Number 3, Brat Pack for me. I think overall, we both think this is a fairly wide open race, so not interested in taking a very short price on what we expect to be Sister Troyenne. The 8 horse. All right, fast forward to the feature of the day, the Holy Bull. One of my favorite horses. Still love that Travers in 1994. We saw Holy Bull and Concern go head-to-head. Grade 3 race, mile and a 16th. This is where we saw Sovereignty have his coming out party last year and really stamp himself as a Kentucky Derby contender. This is, to me, a really interesting race. Cannoneer is going to be back in this spot for Brad Cox and Irad Ortiz Jr. You've got Nearly, who threw up a 97 buyer last time out, winning a 7-furlong race here at Gulfstream Park. I think there's a couple other interesting ones here. If you want to try and make case for an upset, Butane ships in for Bob Baffert as well. So it'll be the first Baffert shipper we see on the Triple Crown Trail. Aaron, hotly contested race. Who are you putting on top?
Well, there is some news. I'll jump in first. Butane, the flight got canceled because of the weather. Oh. So he will actually go next week in the Southwest. And hey, I kind of liked him in this spot, so that was disappointing for sure. So Butane's out. I have there's a 99% chance Game For It is out as well. With that being said, I really debated on a few in here, and I ended up landing on the number 5 Cannoneer. And the big thing that I kept going back to, it just feels like this horse is going to be loose on the lead, especially with the 9 out of it. I just think Cannoneer is going to break to the front, get to the front. They're running a mile and a 16th. That means there's a short stretch. They have 2 finish lines at Gulfstream Park. The finish line for a mile and 16th creates a short stretch. I just think Cannoneer, everything kind of sets up for him to get it done here. I am very interested to see what Incredibolt does. I am very interested to see if Nearly can run back to that last effort. I just think Cannoneer is going to get the trip here. So I went number 5, Cannoneer on top.
Yeah, Butane and Game For It, the two horses who I thought were really going to push him, if they're both out, I mean, that makes it hard not to pick Cannoneer. You mentioned
Yeah.
the short stretch. It's a huge advantage here at Gulfstream Park to be on the lead going mile on the 16th because you just don't have as much time to make to be able to get up. That's why Sovereignty was so impressive in this race last year because he came from off the pace and was flying late and was able to still get up for the win inside of that short stretch. I agree with you. I think Cannoneer is the horse to beat. Not a overly creative pick in this spot here, but I do think this is the one where it's it's a legit horse, $1.75 million purchase. The speed has been awesome from the front end perspective. I think Gets Loose, I think is very, very tough to catch here. But I do want to talk about a couple others because I do think this isn't just a necessarily open and shut case on Cannoneer. And I think the exact is interesting, especially if you don't like Nearly in second. So Nearly a not this time horse out of a Mineshaft mare, $350,000 at auction. Pletcher Velasquez, really impressive going 7 furlongs. But that is the longest we have seen Nearly go so far in his career. What do you make of Nearly? What type of trip do you expect here? And do you think this might be a little too much too soon for him?
Yeah, it's all great questions. I could see it going either way. So there's a couple things I'll point out. The first thing is the last race, it came out of nowhere. And not the fact that he won, but just how good he looked and the number that he got. It didn't match what he had done so far. Now you could almost just throw out the first race. And then the second race, he won by 9 1/4. He looked great, but analytically, it didn't look like over the moon. And then you had the great race last time out. So can he repeat that? And can he repeat that going long? I think those are the two big things. And then the other thing is, this is a horse that he hasn't really broke very well in the last couple of starts. He gets kind of too far behind. Will that hurt him in the setup that we just talked about? I almost put him on top, but there's something that in my head, and maybe it'll get kind of disproven or calmed in my head, that he might be better around one turn. It might have been a little phony what happened last time out. I just keep thinking that in my head. I just look at it and go, did he not face much? And that kind of thing. So I'm a little worried about him.
Yeah, I mean, Confessional is supposed to be a good horse, but to me, here's the problem with Nearly, and this is just a Mike Somich thing. So you take it for what it's worth if you agree with me or not. It's a 4-horse field. Like that to me is right out of the gate a blinking red light when you run your best buyer of your career in a 4-horse field and you break 4 of 4. They really don't go very fast up front. 46-2 for a half mile is not that fast at Gulfstream Park for a 7 furlong race where you expect good horses. And this horse wins by 5 and doesn't blow out 12s. I mean, it wasn't even that fast coming home. This horse just kind of beat everybody else. So I think Nearly could win. I think the price is going to be way too short on Nearly for me to be interested. Can I interest you in the horse to his outside? Bravaro. We always talk about Saffie Joseph Jr., how good he is in Florida, how bad he is everywhere else. Bravaro, a New York State bred, goes up to New York. I thought looked very good, winning a maiden special weight, stretches out to a mile in the Sleepy Hollow. Won that one pretty easily. Actually had to be professional as well, as he was not overly forward in that race. There was quite a bit of speed, and he had to kind of wait for his spot. And when he got it, they pushed the button. Bravaro took off. I think this is a legit contender for second and possibly the top spot, depending on what we get from Cannoneer.
I don't have any argument, and I wouldn't talk anybody off of them. That's all I would say. We've seen New York breds come down here, I should say, and run just fine in this circuit before. Of course, Tiz the Law jumps out, but there's been others that have been okay. I thought the last race was really good. I really did. The first one, it's a maiden special weight. It's a New York bred. You don't really, you don't, it's not like you don't take it serious, but you just kind of okay, now let's see what he does next. And he really improved. And I think he can go to, a mile 16th. I don't think that'll be a problem. I'm with you. I don't really know if he can win, but I think getting second and third at a number makes a ton of sense for this horse.
I also think that with Game For It and Butane, if they're both out, all of a sudden he's the chase. And again, maybe he doesn't get there, but it's going to be tough to pass him if he is the horse that is chasing what I expect to be a little more tepid of a pace with a shorter stretch. So I think that you got to at least consider Bravaro if you want to play a 5-8 exacta cold, if you want to, sprinkle something around there. I don't mind looking at Bravaro underneath. I'm probably going to use Bravaro in some pick fives as well to see if we can get a little bit of a price. Quickly, two horses I want to talk about before we move on here. The one Incredible coming back for Riley Mott won the Street Sense at Churchill Downs, going a mile and 16th last time out, and the 4 Global Aviator for Crichton, who won a maiden special weight here. Let's start with Global Aviator because I think this will be a quicker conversation. 1 at 6 furlongs, came from off the pace, probably shows a little more speed today. Any interest in this horse taking a big time step forward? Is a cheap Kentucky bred here?
I do not have a lot of interest in this one. So yeah, it will be a quick conversation. And it's not, look, I went back and watched that race. It's not that was a bad race at all, made up a lot of ground. I think one turn is where you're going to see this horse at its best.
Yeah, I think we're just over our head. I mean, that to me is like maybe we're not quite at this level. But I thought the first race was good. Could take a step forward. 85 buyer first time out. A nice number there. All right, the one Incredible. To me, it's the pace and the setup here and the fact we're going to mile 16th on Gulfstream that makes it hard for Incredible to win. This is a horse that did have a ton of buzz in the Street Sense after breaking the maiden at Churchill Downs. It feels like this isn't the spot. Like this is not fully cranked up Incredible, and we maybe get a better run here moving forward in the Gulfstream Park Triple Crown Trail versus today in the Holy Bull.
It does scream like, quote unquote, let's get him a race, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, don't do anything crazy. Don't try to have him chase the speed, this, that, and the other. Just have him run his race, and wherever they fall type of thing. To be fair, I think to Riley Mott, I think a lot of people saw Sovereignty and Bill Mott win the Street Sense last year, and then they saw Riley win it this year, and they're like, all right, now this is the next Sovereignty. Like, I've heard that. I just want to tell people, the next Sovereignty may be 15 years before we see the next Sovereignty. Like, this is not Sovereignty, okay? And I don't want that comparison, and I don't want Riley Mott to feel that pressure because that's not this. I think this is a decent horse. He's the one. I'm not going to bet to win, but he's the one I'm really interested to watch run in this race because say he kind of runs and he's flying late and he gets, second, third, even fourth. When they stretch out, better configuration, kind of better setup. Who is he? Is he the type that he's not Sovereignty, but can he kind of be a contender in this group right now? I'm very interested to watch him run. I'm very curious to see how he looks. I just don't have a ton of interest to play him on top in this spot.
Yeah, to me, he's one of those, like, just slot him in third or fourth if you're playing supers, because I do think he's running late, but I don't think he's going to have enough to get up. I don't mind the 581 try cold either, if you just want to try and take a big price or a big shot at a number with putting the 5 on top here. All right, that is the Holy Bull Stakes, race number 12 from Gulfstream Park. Number 5, Cannoneer for Aaron. Number 5, Cannoneer for Mike. Bravaro, the other horse that I am interested in here, if you're looking for a little bit more of a price. All right, let's move to best bets before we wrap up the show. I will kick it off. Race number 3, Saturday at Gulfstream Park. I'm going to go with the number 1, Noble J here on the rail. I am hoping we get a little bit of a price because we lost to Awesome Beast, the 2 last time out. That was a race where this horse did not break well, rushed up, ended up in a duel, and then faded toward the end. If you go back one race prior to that, I thought this horse looked awesome on the front end. I think we're going to get back more toward that style here. I think stretching out is good, and I don't see any pace pressure for Noble J either. So I'm going to go with the number 1, Noble J, gate to wire, Gulfstream Park, race number 3, Aaron.
I love that pick. Great pick by you. I love it.
I appreciate it. All right, let's go to your first best bet. And I got to say, your 2 races, whew, you're trying here. Gulfstream Park, race number 5, Kitten's Joy. Who do you like?
Well, I should probably try, don't you think? All right.
Well, like you always say that I take tough race. I think you picked some tough races here.
Well, listen, I don't know that this one is. The next one, maybe. I really, Gulfstream Park, race 5. I really like the number 2, Alpeland in this spot. He's just been really impressive to me. Yeah, they tried the dirt, it didn't work. They got to the turf at Kentucky Downs. The horse ran much better, and then 3 straight wins at Keeneland and a maiden special weight, an allowance at Gulfstream, and then a stakes at Gulfstream. 3 straight races on what you would call normal turf tracks, and this horse has been very impressive. So I like him quite. I like him quite a bit in here. I also think he's kind of the horse that you love on the turf where he doesn't need the lead, but he isn't too far back. He's drawn the 2-hole. I think he gets a nice clean pocket trip, kind of similar to what Test Score got last week here over this course. So I really like the number 2, Alpeland here in the 5th at Gulfstream.
Yeah, I have the 2 right there with the number 6 Turf Star, who's the other horse that I think is really interesting in this spot. Ran second to final score, 2 back in the Bourbon. This is another motion horse who first off the layoff, I think has a shot at firing a big one. But I don't hate the Alpeland pick at all. Let's fast forward one more race here. Your second best bet coming from Gulfstream Park, race number 6. And this one we disagree on. Who do you like?
Yeah, now this one I would say is kind of more of a Mike Somich race to take a shot on because it does just kind of seem like wide open. And we saw the synthetic was kind of weird last week. That you and I aren't scared of the synthetic though. Like we
No,
understand how
not
to
at all.
play it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that what happened last Saturday. It's just kind of one of those things that happens. I like the number 2 high limit room in here. Just the consistency on the surface is very good. First or second, the last 5 starts. Now Saffy Joseph has the horse. That's not a bad thing. This horse gets claimed almost every time it runs. So it's an 8-year-old hard knocking horse. I love these type of horses. Loves this Gulfstream Park surface. The synthetic surface, I should say. I think is running in a much easier race than last time out when the horse got second. So I like the number 2 high limit room quite a bit in this spot.
Yeah, I agree with you. Much easier spot. I'm just worried there's too much speed in here. That's why I ended up on the 4, if not for luck, who I think is just going to get the perfect trip from a pace setup. But if the 2 gets loose, the 2 is wildly dangerous. If the 2 faces a bunch of pressure, I think it's the 4 and the 8 that are coming running. But I don't think it's a bad pick. I'm going to play against the pace in that spot and see if we can get someone to close. Second best bet for me, race number 8, the Swale. 7 furlongs for the boys, the 3-year-old colts on the dirt. And I am going to take a shot here. Solitude Dude will be your favorite on the outside for Saffy Joseph Jr. Irad Ortiz is going to ride. This horse is won by a combined 17 and a half lengths in 2 starts. That's really good. The price will be really bad. I'm talking like 2 to 5, somewhere in that range. I'm going to take a shot on the rail. Give me the number 1 Class President here. Second start for Todd Pletcher. John Velasquez rides. Won the debut going a mile. I thought it was a really impressive debut going a mile. Yes, there were just 5 horses, but this horse was kind of stuck in on the rail and then had to swing wide, and it was just not the easiest of trips. Still able to get up and win under wraps here for Pletcher and Velasquez, or for Pletcher and Ortiz on that day. Now it's Pletcher and Velasquez today. I'm just playing the price difference here. To me, the 1 is going to go off at 5 to 1, 6 to 1, hopefully somewhere in that range. And that's just way too big of a number in my mind compared to what we're going to see from the 6. If we get like 5 to 1 and the 6-1 exacta is paying 4 or 5 to 1, you could also play a 6-1 exacta and then come back with the 1 to win. And if either happens, you're getting paid at 2.5 to 1, which I don't think is a terrible strategy either if you want to try and just cover the race. I think they are clearly the best 2 horses in the Swale. I'm going to go with the number 1, the better price of the 2, Class President, as my second best bet from race number 8 at Gulfstream Park on Saturday.
I'm just not sure he can catch the 6, and I understand completely what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I don't totally disagree with you, but the price is right.
Here's what I'll say, though. Class President, that debut was December 27th, and I believe our fantasy league draft was the next day or maybe 2 days after that, and he got drafted pretty high, and I had him pretty high on my list as well. I'm surprised we're at 7 furlongs. That debut was at a mile, and usually when you debut at a mile, it's because you want to go 2 turns. I don't know if it's just like, hey, we need a race before we kind of get him back, get him into the Kentucky Derby preps, but I'm very interested to see how he runs. I just don't know if he can catch the 6.
Yeah, if he runs big, it's going to be interesting what they decide to do with this horse. I mean, Pletcher's got multiple Derby contenders. You got Nearly running in the Holy Bull later on that card. Like, you're wondering if he tried to separate these 2, right? And you're like, okay, we're going to have Nearly go here. We're going to have because it almost feels like Nearly fits better in this race and Class President fits better in that race, yet we have flipped them. So I think it's going to be fascinating to see how these 2 Pletchers do. But Class President, number 1, race number 8 at Gulfstream, my second best bet. All right, that's going to do it for the show this week. Thank you very much, everyone who joined us on Apple, on Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And thank you to everybody who joined us over on VSiN at the Track. If you're watching now, hit the thumbs up. Give us a little love there on the YouTube side of it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well so you don't miss a single video or update. And tell us what we did right or wrong in that side of the comments over there on YouTube as well. Aaron, parting thoughts here. Scale of 1 to 10. How excited are you for this Derby class right now?
I don't want to be negative. 10. No, I don't think it's great. I don't think it's great right now, but it's still somewhat early. So I would say I'm like a 5 at the moment.
I think the class is a 3 or 4. I think it could be like an 8 or 9 betting race.
Fair.
Because the worse the class, sometimes you get your mage. Like, hey, look at me, right? Sometimes you get your Mystic Dan. So I do think this is setting up to be one where, maybe we're going to take a shot here against Ted Noffey and see if we have one good horse who may not get a great trip, and then we got a bunch of other horses that we may be able to get prices in there and find a big way to score on the Derby.
Yep. No, I think that's a fair point, a very fair point, a good way to look at it. We're just searching for the kind of the challenger to Ted Noffey, and then in the back of our mind, we're going, what if Ted Noffey isn't sound or something happens, and then what? So it's like, we're kind of just searching right now. Last year we kind of knew Journalism Sovereignty; they were good, and we had others as well. So I'm with you. It's a 3 or 4.
I'm just throwing it out there. Parallels to the Forte Maze year. I'm just saying, where
100%.
Like the Ted Noffey was the Forte. Who's going to be the mage? And like, what happens if Ted Noffey's not able to go in the Derby? Because then I think it's all bets are off on who possibly wins that. I do think Gulfstream is by far the best circuit right now from a 3-year-old perspective. I don't think it's even close.
Agree.
Like usually like you can argue Oaklawn, Fairgrounds, like sometimes California. Right now, someone's got to show me they're better than the Gulfstream horses.
Fairgrounds seems average with maybe a horse could jump up. Oaklawn really hasn't got to run hardly anything. New York always a terrible. I'm thinking California now. Baffert's there's not a journalism out there. Yeah, it's Florida. Yeah.
All eyes on Florida, and that will start with the Grade 3 Holy Bull on Saturday. Thank you very much for watching. For Aaron Halterman, I am Mike Somich, and our super producer, Matt Deutsch, on the back end, making it all happen, including getting us those videos. We appreciate that from our friends over at First Bet. Good luck this weekend at the track.